time. It can be the harbinger of unavoidable suffering. However, it can also be the best remedy for healing the wounds that very suffering inflicted. Nevertheless, it slowly marches on while the great kingdom of Hyrule progresses through its rich history. It is defined by the indefatigable pattern of the sun rising in the east to realize the dawn of a new day, or rather, another day of a new future. As the sun was rising in the clear orange sky over the wood, 1,000 raindrops pattered the ground within the mind of a young boy. The young boy was not even in his forest anymore. He was in a strange place that he had never seen before, some sort of fortress wall made of pale gray brick and stone, crafted with deftly shaped ramparts and intricate marble watchtowers, styled to complement the slight silhouette of a large palace in the far background. A wide moat guarded the impenetrable wall, yet had a wooden drawbridge that was creaking open. The cranking of the chains preceded the rapid galloping of hooves, drawing nearer and nearer. A graceful white mare emerged from the large gate. On it was riding a tall, aged woman with a look of complete distress strewn across her face. Her short, straight hair was the color of a cow's milk, yet her eyes were the fiercest color of red. Her plump lips may have been the most distinctive part of that worried, yet determined face. In front of this woman sat a girl, also worried. She had a friendly aura seeming to diffuse from her bright blue eyes, and her blonde hair was being held up in a bun underneath a regal white bonnet. The boy felt a queer notion of familiarity when he saw the girl's face, almost as if he knew her, and intensely cared for her safety. As the mare galloped away over the hill, the boy heard another set of hooves, only these sounded much more ruthless and wanton. Just seconds after the mare was out of sight, a large black stallion emerged from the gate, decorated with sanguine rubies and branded with a sigil resembling the markings on a king cobra. It came to a halt right outside the drawbridge. On it was a towering caped figure clad in black armor, with a frightening complexion. His skin was discolored, almost to a pure green. Emerging from his face was a nose that bent downward, nearly over his gnarled teeth. His pupils were golden, unlike the fiery orange of his long, flowing hair, which was dripping in the rain. This man's intentions were malicious in the extreme. The boy could feel it in his racing blood vessels. This was confirmed when the man cocked his head toward the boy and raised his hand in an abrupt fashion to knock the boy upon the ground with an excruciating jolt of torment, caused by some sort of invisible force the green man seemed to be wielding. Link! Link! Link awoke in the terror of his cruel nightmare. His green tunic was drenched in sweat. Link looked around his one-room treehouse as he sat up from his cot, noticing the warm rays of the summer morning flooding in through the door, along with a bright aura of light. This light belonged to an enchanting creature, with the wings of a fly, yet the beauty of a butterfly. Radiating a blue glow, gentle and pretty in her appearance, it was a fairy that was drifting into his room, awakening him. Startled, he sat up quickly, mouthing the words, "A fairy." Had a fairy finally come to him? "Hello, my name is Navi. The great Deku Tree wishes to speak with you," the fairy informed with the most mystic voice. Link bowed his head a few degrees while narrowing his eyelids with perplexity. Individual Deku Tree summons were rare, for there were many Kokiri children in their forest village, and he was such a high authority. Everyone held the opportunity to see the tree from time to time, but in groups, where the tree sort of mentored them all, much like a teacher would in a classroom. "That's right. You've been summoned by his greatness," Navi repeated. Link was flabbergasted. What, me?" "He requires your presence at once, and he has charged me to be your partner from now on," she proclaimed as she fluttered about his head. Link's face lit up with a jolt of excitement. For some reason, he had always lacked the one thing that every Kokiri holds in possession. A fairy. A fairy that acts as a guardian, looking out for the naive child, and always at his or her side. He slowly rose from his cot, quickly changed into a fresh green tunic, and then covered his flowing blonde hair with his long green Phrygian cap, while staring into the deep blue eyes of his reflection in his mirror. He then climbed down the ladder outside his front door, where he saw his best friend Saria greeting him a good morning from the path. Saria's warm-hearted aura radiated through her genial smile that she often wore. Her hair was a deep green, like the flora around them, as well as her eyes. It was as if her retinas were encasing brilliant emeralds. She was Link's height and age, but Link had always remembered her that way, and he knew why. Saria was a Kokiri, a child of the forest, and always a child. The Kokiri never grow up. They never mature to an age of wisdom and responsibility, but rather remain innocent children isolated by the thick shrubbery that divides the forest from the rest of the land. Their lack of wisdom and responsibility was compensated for by a watcher. The great Deku Tree was created by the goddesses to watch over these delicate beings with magical protection. A large tree that could think and communicate like a person, whose wisdom surpasses all in the forest and many in the land. Saria took notice of the fairy granted to Link by the Deku Tree. "Is that a fairy?" she asked, eyes widening. "I've been summoned by the great Deku Tree himself. I don't know what to think." "Link, you've been summoned? That's great news. I'm so happy for you." Link wondered why he was selected. He became to be known as an outcast amongst the Kokiri, for he had always been smaller and looked different. He wondered why he had never had a fairy until now. The air was filled with tiny airborne luminescent beings, as it always was, giving the Kokiri forest a quaint, mystical feeling. Link and Saria walked casually along the forest path, followed by Navi and Saria's fairy, towards the clearing where the tree resided. Suddenly, though, their conversation was interrupted by a tall, stocky boy with puffy cheekbones and unkempt ginger hair, wearing an intimidating complexion. Well, well, where do the two lovebirds think they're going? "Link has been summoned by the great Deku Tree, Mido," Saria combated. "What?" he asked, shocked. He paced in front of them, blocking the path. Why would he summon Mr. No Fairy and not the great Mido? Just because you think you're the toughest guy in the forest doesn't mean you have the right to take your jealousy out on Link, asserted Saria. "Jealousy?" he exclaimed. "Of him being summoned?" "Of his being summoned," she quietly corrected. "What?" he asked in confusion. Navi appeared from behind Link's head to chime in. "It would be wise to let us by, Mido." "Is that a fairy? How did you end up with that?" he demanded. "It was part of the summons, Mido. Now let us by," Link asserted, trying to move forward. Mido reached out his arms and stopped both of them. "Us? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that Saria was summoned." "Fine," said Saria. "Just let Link by then." "All right, but be careful not to embarrass yourself." "Stop messing with his head," she told Mido, before turning to Link. "Just see what he wants. He won't be disappointed," she told Link. Link said farewell to Saria, and walked briskly to get away from Mido. About 30 paces later, there was a bend in the path, followed by the clearing where the tree resided. The tree was extremely large. It had a trunk wide enough to fit 3 of the Kokiri's houses. His branches were copious in the sky above, and they were so thick with green leaves, hardly any sunlight shone onto Link. He solemnly looked into the tree's face. It was made of wooden knots, which personified an old man with bushy eyebrows and a thick mustache. "Link, welcome. Navi, welcome back," the tree said, his facial knots creaking as he spoke. "Come hither, Link," he beckoned. Link stepped a little closer. He could now see that something was out of the ordinary. The tree looked down at his subject with his light wooden pupils. "It is time to meet thy destiny," he finally said. "Destiny?" Link responded, confounded. "Link, thou may not currently comprehend, but thou shalt in due time. But for now, listen carefully to what I, the Deku Tree, am about to tell thee." Link looked apprehensive. "As you wish, your greatness." "Thy slumber these past moons must have been ruthless and full of nightmares. haven't they? Before Link could reply, the Deku Tree explained, "Thy face shows it. As the servants of evil gain strength, a vile climate pervades the land and causes nightmares to those sensitive to it. Verily, thou hast felt it." "What are you talking about, your greatness? Servants of evil?" Link asked perplexedly. "Link, the time has come to test thy courage," the tree said solemnly. "I have been cursed by a very evil man. He poisoned me with wretched creatures that crawl and tear at my insides." At this point, Link was genuinely shocked. "Thou must find thy courage. I need thee to break the curse with thy wisdom and courage. Enter inside of me and kill them." The tree looked like it was in great suffering. "Use the blade of the forest. Thou will find it directly inside my trunk, where it is hidden for situations like these." "Great Deku Tree, why have you chosen me?" Link asked in despair. "In due time, my boy. In due time." A large hole then appeared out of nowhere on the trunk, obviously the hole that the tree wanted Link to enter into. Speaking in short breaths, the tree said to the fairy, "Navi, guide him in these times of trial." Link was hesitating. Him? Brave? The tree saw this and addressed Link. "Find thy courage. Trust in me, for I know thou hast it." Link readied himself. He did not want to disappoint the great Deku Tree. He stepped into the hole and into the depths of his guardian.